be careful who you hand your life to. Because if they have a private agenda and they are not healthy people to begin with, and they are out there in any profession, please don't give your blind trust to someone that just has credentials on their wall, makes you believe that they're a good doctor and are going to take care of you, because it can be a matter of life and death.
We're in these vulnerable spaces when we're reaching out for a therapist and for help, and somebody who is unscrupulous can take advantage of that.
Yes, and that happened to me. My vulnerability, someone that's unscrupulous, where they'll find your Achilles heel no matter what. Mine happened to be the unresolved relinquishment and adoption trauma that I went through. And that's what I told her, that I was wanting to see her, and we never talked about it. From that point forward, when I employed her as my therapist, we never talked about it again because she had a different agenda. She was promising me to be the mother figure that I had never had, the nurturing mother figure. And at my developmental stage where I was at that point in time, that sounded like bliss to me. It was like, I have been looking for you all my life. And so I wanted her help. I listened to her. I was a good student. And I realized that I fell into a very dark hole with someone that did not have my best interest at heart at all.
So your second book, A Fire is Coming, dives into this whole experience for you. I definitely will say trigger warning for people out there. It can be a difficult read at times, but very powerful and a much needed conversation, I think, in this space surrounding therapy, because you really didn't have a support network for somebody. I know you were married at the time, yeah, but not in the best of relationships.
True.
And so you didn't really have a support network. We've already talked about your raising parents to say, "Hey, Linda, this isn't right. This isn't going right."
Absolutely true. And someone that is, in this case, it was the therapist, was trying to isolate me because she didn't want me to have any information or have my own thoughts, my own emotions. It was all an indoctrination, if you will, of grooming me to be in her control, in the palm of her hand. All of this was not to my knowledge, and I was pretty naive about the whole therapeutic process and thought, oh, she really cares about me, and she's, really taking care of this and that, and telling me to come over late at night to her office. Because did I mention that she was my next door neighbor?
No, we haven't brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the badum.
Right.
But
Right. Oh, note
that's
to self, never go to your therapist's house. But grooming, I think it's like anything. You don't know when somebody's grooming you.
no, I had no idea. I thought she was a fine, upstanding therapist. She had a, beautiful office. I was just going off the things that I could see. Credentials on the wall. It seemed like you wouldn't be a good therapist if you had such a expensive looking office and you had these, pretty high prices and everything. So in my mind, she just checked the box as being well, of course, no one's going to want to do me any harm. Which is why I want to tell my story, because I think there are a lot of people out there like me that don't think to question the people that come into their lives. And especially where there's a power differential of where you already are vulnerable and you're giving them this power over you. And I've learned to not do that with anyone in my life anymore because I've gotten severely burned on that.
Right. Was there a moment for you or a time where you said, "Nope, I'm taking my power back," to change the situation with the therapist, where you decided, "I'm not doing this anymore"?
I'm hesitating because all of this came in such slow, insidious, incremental ways of I might have a red flag of, oh, should I really go to her house? Isn't she my therapist or is she my friend? And then I'd whoosh it away because she would convince me that this wasn't boundary crossing. I was just that special. And she really wanted to help me. And so I was like, that fed into my lack and deprivation of nurturance. It was like,
Hmm.
here is someone that wants to take care of me. My own husband didn't really see me or hear me. And here's the first person in my life, and she wants to be my mother figure. So, do you remember that book, Are You My Mother? Where the baby bird falls out of
Yes.
the nest? That was a lot like me. So I played right into her hands where, unbeknownst to me, she wanted me to become, I'm skipping to the part where she wanted me to be her partner. She kicked out her partner that lived there in the house next to mine so I could move in with her and be her partner. Now, that was a huge red flag to me, but by that time I had lost all sense of agency and autonomy. And so while
Hmm.
I knew I was physically sick and knew that I was in deep, but I didn't have, the best I can say, wherewithal to stand up and say, this is absurd. I'm out of here. But eventually I did get to that point when she moved me into her home without my knowledge. And I got a call at work one day. She said, I know that you couldn't have the strength to do this. So I went into your home and I packed up all your stuff and moved it into my house. You're going to live with me now and be my partner. Didn't even ask me. It was just like, this is what you're going to do. When you live with someone 24/7, the mask can't stay on all the time. So she became emotionally dysregulated quite a bit, of where the super therapist would go away, the one that had everything all together. And then she would show me signs of being really kind of just out of control. And then when she started hitting me up against walls and telling me anything but love bombing, but the reverse of love bombing, I was able to have enough clarity for long enough to where when she went to work the next day, I gathered up all my stuff and got the hell out of there.
Women unfortunately face partners who are abusive and for years, and having the strength to do what you did in such an abusive relationship. Again, so layered, right? Because he's your therapist, sort of partner, not really. I wouldn't ever define that from your perspective in that way, the way she wanted to define the relationship. But it's still an abusive relationship, and having the strength to do what you did is again amazing.
Again, I just channeled that kind of energy. It came out of nowhere, but it was short lived because by the next day, because I was not a well person, mentally, I
Right.
was not well. And I started missing her and thinking I couldn't live without her. Although we separated, I did not ever really was with her or certainly not therapeutically see her ever again. But it was still, I'd say, a decade before I was able to completely take out all the tentacles she had put into me in my psyche and in my belief system. It was a hard, long road. I had to go get a master's in psychology to try to heal myself. There's not a
Hmm.
lot of help out there to deprogram someone that has been in that kind of cultic type situation of thought reform. And when I went to get my master's, it was very, very helpful, extremely helpful.
So now you're taking those tentacles out, the adoption stuff still, because you were seeking help for the adoption issues with attachment, sense of self, sense of identity. And now instead of trying to heal with that, you've added a whole nother layer of things. So you spend a number of years going through different processes, steps, things to try to begin the healing process. Healing happens over time. It takes a lot of time. What were some of the things that you used? And you write about this in your third book, Choosing to Breathe. some of the tools that you use to help you find healing through all of these situations that life put upon you.
I'll start that by saying I don't think any of it would have ever happened if I hadn't gotten control of my unhealthy relationship with alcohol. That really revved up post leaving the therapist and getting a divorce from my then time husband and making a move from California back to my basically my hometown of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I had to come to terms with that my life had become unmanageable. And once I was able to get that ball rolling and learn about the 12 steps, I was able to think, well, I've unraveled, barring the name of this podcast, I unraveled with my unhealthy relationship with alcohol. I thought, I'm good, I'm done. But I had so much more to go. And I was able to use the 12 steps at that time. That's really where my head was to demystify the whole thing of being an adoptee and how did it shape me and what false stories have I been telling myself all my life and what kind of story would I rather say about myself? Am I unwanted? Am I someone that doesn't belong anywhere? So I started listening to people like Gabor Mate that says life wanted life. I'm here. The universe wanted me. And that was really helpful. And then I started doing other research and other ways of doing yoga, of getting back in touch with my somatic healing type things, of doing kickboxing and exercising. Well, all of it really ultimately helped me start to really integrate. And until I was able to start pulling together but I had to unravel and deconstruct my entire life, everything I thought I knew about anything. And while that is a wondrous thing to have done, it's also a deeply horrifying experience because you don't know if you're going to make it out. You're in in the eye of the storm. And luckily, I was able to have enough resilience and enough tenacity and keep my head into self-care and research and talking to people and asking the right people for help that eventually the ball started going towards health. And I got some really good counseling. I know people say that you shouldn't have to clarify good counseling, but hey, if you've been in my shoes, or if you've ever been jilted by an accountant or a teacher or a doctor or a policeman, you need to make sure you're in safe hands. I'll bet that more and more are getting trained in that specific area, just like more adoptees are becoming therapists themselves to be adoptee competent therapists.
100%. And Right to Know actually has continuing education credits for therapists in a lot of these topics, just because the need we saw was so great because of everybody saying,
I remember a conversation, Cara, that we had where you said, it's not that I'm giving a prescription, like if you follow these tools, you too will find freedom. But what it's offering is try this, try that,
"Mm,
try a number of different things, which is what I did. There's no one prescription for anyone, but certain things at certain times of your life will make meaning or resonate with you. And so try them all.